Gabe made this beat.
Welcome to Say Like a Champ, episode 306. It's your boy A-Dub, and we are back live again on another beautiful Tuesday. Want to welcome in all the Slack family. And, over here at Slack headquarters, we got a lot of things going on, but there's a lot of things going on in the world of sports, and we always want to come and be with you guys each and every week. And so you got your boy today. I'm going to hold it down for the Slack crew. And as always, I'm not alone because I've got my Slack family out there. I just want to say, as always, we appreciate the likes and the comments and having you guys as part of the show. So as we're following through a couple topics, please don't hesitate to throw your opinions out there because we'd love to know what you guys are thinking. As we check in, we do got a couple Slackers in the building already on the board. We got Pops, good evening, and we got Kelly, hello, and happy Tuesday. Welcome back to the show, you all. Appreciate you guys being here with us. And again, NBA free agency, a lot of things going on with that. We've had actually a trade in the NFL that we'll talk about. Coco Gauff going down early on in the tournament in the first round. So a few different things going on. But like I said, your boy is going to do a solo run today, and I appreciate you guys' help along the way. But we're going to knock it out. Quick show, nothing too crazy. I want to welcome moms into the building as well. So I'm going to pull up some of this stuff. And like I said, it's been very busy. So a lot of things have been going on, and it's hard to keep up with the free agency. But I think the biggest question that I want to ask you all is who won free agency so far? And I think that there's a few obvious candidates, but there might be some sneaky ones in there too. So who won free agency so far for you? I would love to know that, or if you guys have some grades for some teams. So let us know that in the chat as we go through this. But we're going to jump into some bigger news and kind of who I think won free agency so far, and that would be the Houston Rockets. Now, obviously, it's not just free agency. There's a lot of trades going on as well, but the Houston Rockets, after acquiring KD last week and us talking about that, we got some more acquisitions for them. Dorian Finney-Smith, he opted out of his Lakers contract, and now he is going to Houston. And then they also signed Clint Capella, who was bought out by the Hawks. And that was a very interesting one as well because he actually started his career in Houston, and now he's going back there. They already have Sengun, and then they also have Adams. So they're going to have a formidable trio back there. So I think that that's super legit. And that the Rockets have done a great job so far. But I think the other thing that was some really surprising news today outside of free agency or having to do with free agency, Damian Lillard being waived by the Milwaukee Bucks after 2 seasons there, going there to team up with Giannis was supposed to be, this dynamic duo that would get them back to championship contention. Didn't really pan out that way. Got injured. Will miss most of next year, if not all of next year. Is at the later stages of his career. And so he was waived. They're going to stretch his money. So he's still going to get paid all of his money, and he's going to have the chance to rehab and to get better and then come back when he's ready and join with any team. So we'll see who Damian Lillard joins up with. But my other question for the day is, besides who won free agency so far for you, is this the end of kind of Damian Lillard as we knew it? Or do you think he has a chance to come back and make an impactful run with a team? I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on that as well. As we jump to the comments real quick and welcome in a couple more people. We got Unk. Hello from Texas. What's up, Unk? Welcome into the show, and thanks for being here with us. Pop said Houston killed it in free agency plus the trade for Durant. I hope OKC and Houston meet in the Western Conference Finals, and great move by the Bucks. So we talked about the Bucks obviously waiving Lillard. That was so they could sign the big man from the Pacers, who just had a great run and was kind of one of the more sought after bigs in the NBA free agency this year, who's going to be available this year, Miles Turner. So he's going to get a big contract, and the Bucks creating that money by stretching Damian Lillard's contract and waiving him. So we'll see what happens with that. I hope the Pacers are going to lose some of their pieces, but they're still very young. But it's going to be tough for them next year without Turner and obviously without Halliburton. So I hope that they can put things back together and come back. But it sucks that they were like building up and maybe a little bit ahead of schedule, and now it looks like it's going to be a tough road to get back to where they were in the finals. So that'll be very interesting to see. But the Bucks making that commitment, saying that they want Giannis to stay and building all around him, I think that will be really helpful for them in the front court. And obviously having a player like Lillard when he was in his prime was great, but they weren't going to get that out of him, at least not this year. Unc says Lillard needs to get healthy first. And I definitely think that. I hope he doesn't sign with a team and then go through his rehab process. I hope he just goes by himself, kind of does what he needs to do, heads down, and then when he's healthy, show teams and have that option of where he wants to go. So we'll see. Mom said, I'm not sure he can come back from the injury. And yeah, I kind of agree, Mom. Like, I think it's going to be tough to see him as he was, but maybe he can get back to, something of a contributor. I think it depends on his attitude too. Does he want to be, a sixth man type of player or a fourth option type of player, or does he want to, be a star somewhere? So we'll see. All right, some other things in free agency. I'm just going to check on a couple of these things. Selfishly, too, the other thing I want to know your thoughts on free agency is, how does this impact the Lakers? That's my team. LeBron did exercise his option to stay for next year. We thought he would do that or sign a 2-year deal with a player option at the end again to kind of extend it and be 2 years. But instead, he's going to just pick up the option for this year, $52 million, and then be a free agent at the end of next year. That's going to be very interesting because at the end of next year, you got Bryce going to be NBA eligible. He has to play for U of A this year and then go into the NBA next year, potentially, probably. We've talked about it on the show, the panel. We kind of have thought that, Bryce could probably have a bigger ceiling, a higher ceiling than Bronny. So is LeBron going to want to have his options open so that he could not only be the first ever to play with his son, but to have two sons in the NBA and maybe play with both sons? That would be super crazy. But I feel like LeBron, he says, and Rich Paul saying they want to compete for a championship. That's why they want the Lakers to build a contender. I obviously agree with that and I understand that, but also LeBron is thinking bigger picture. He's thinking legacy type of things right now, that he's picking up these, different accomplishments that others can't, not to mention that next year he will break the record for most NBA seasons played. And he's only about 55 games away from most regular season played games. So obviously he has to stay healthy and some things have to happen for that, but he continues to, push further than what we have seen from other players. And he still averages 25 points a game. So interesting to see what will happen with the Lakers, though. Rob Pelinka, I feel like he always does this. He doesn't come out and make moves right away. He's stagnant. He waits, and then he picks up the pieces, and he's like, oh, look, I made this great thing out of what was left over. But it's like, dude, get out there and do something early on. Sometimes I feel like he's like a Jerry Jones type. Like, he's like mixing up the pieces to see like, oh, we'll make some moves. Just trust us. But nothing ever happens, at least with the sense of urgency or with, as fast as I would like it, but that's just me. Mom says, I think that LeBron is deciding how he will go out. Yeah, I agree. I think he is. He's leaving that option open for, hey, I can maybe go somewhere else, or maybe I can bow out if his body doesn't live up to it. But he hasn't fallen off that cliff yet. He hasn't really, obviously showed signs of slowing down. He's still, like, him slowing down is still all NBA, it's still all-star level. So yeah. Pop says Lakers are kind of hurting losing Dorian Finney-Smith and not getting Lopez or Turner. I agree. I think when Brook Lopez and Brook Lopez is actually going to the Clippers, so he'll be there and add depth with Zubac, who's coming off of a career year. So him going to not only a different team but the Clippers, that does kind of hurt. I think they would have loved having Brook Lopez as a defensive anchor, somebody that can shoot the ball and stretch the floor as a big, and then also somebody that can pick and roll with Luka Doncic. So, that sucks. That hurt because I was thinking, man, that would have been a great pickup. But Appreciate y'all. Keep the comments coming. Unk says, will Giannis stay in Milwaukee? I think he will. The moves that they're making around him is showing that they intend to keep him and compete there. And as much as Giannis has talked about, I'll go where I need to do. I do what I need. I still feel like Giannis has that loyalty because he came from where he came from. And, he wasn't this highly touted. Obviously, there was that athleticism and the potential, but he had to work to get to where he's at. And Milwaukee trusted in him, believed in him, had his brothers on the team at one point. So I feel like there's a loyalty there that he's not really like, he pretends it's not there, but it's there. Like, that's his heart. So he's one of those players that I feel like shouldn't go to a different team because it doesn't always work out that way. Just like Lillard, he should have never left the Trailblazers. My WB from the Jazz who went to the Celtics, like, dude, you should have never left. It's been like that for a long time where there's certain players that it's like, it just doesn't always hit the same when you come up with a team and you're that guy there. You want to stay there. I don't know. We'll see, but let's see some other moves. I was trying to remember some other moves, so I'm just going to check them out really quickly. Bear with me, and actually, we can, if you guys want to check it out too. Don't want to just totally read this verbatim, but I want to make sure we're not missing anything. And anything you guys want to talk about, please let's jump in and do that. Portland Trailblazers, obviously DeAndre Ayton. He's another guy. Didn't expect him to be on the market, but he got bought out, and so now he's available. We'll see where he goes. This is still kind of early on, but this is kind of the timeline of some things that have happened. Jordan Clarkson, he's getting a buyout with the Jazz. He's expected to join the Knicks potentially once he clears waivers. That's pretty cool. I love Clarkson back from his Lakers days. The Kings being, potentially Mike Brown having a second meeting, and the former Kings coach Mike Brown potentially coaching the Knicks. That's a very interesting one that's on here as well. I think he would be a good fit for that one. We talked about Dorian Finney-Smith. What are some other ones? Yeah, the Lakers did pick up LaRavia from he played for the Kings late last year, and he did pretty good. Unk says DeAndre Ayton to the Lakers. That hasn't happened, but that would be dope. They need a center. Obviously, that was their biggest need. They knew that before the trade deadline. So if Ayton does, after the buyout, end up with the Lakers, that would be pretty cool. But obviously it's kind of the extra things. It's not your first, not your 1, 2, 3 option there. We talked about Clint Capella being one of those, or Lopez. Brooke Lopez to the Clippers. So yeah, some other things. Unk says Drew Holiday back in Portland. That one is interesting as well. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like that's part of the Celtics just getting under the luxury tax and trying to also stay competitive at the same time. I kind of feel bad for him though. After being one of those big pieces of the championship, you can go from that to being expendable so quickly, because when they got him, it was like, oh, this is this last little piece. We got him, we got Horford. Now we can go over the top, and they did. And now, you got to pivot. So that's kind of tough. Let's see what else is on here really quickly. We talked about Turner. We talked about Lillard. There's some other ones. Dennis Schroeder signing with the Kings, 3 years, $45 million. Dennis Schroeder continues to bounce back from, obviously they talked about he had the big offer. He went away from that, fell off, came back though. I feel like him playing basketball for Germany always like ignites him, because he realizes like I can be that type of guy. And every once in a while he has those type of games, but that'll be cool for the Kings trying to stay competitive after basically giving up last year with our boy Fox. Unk says Porter trade. Oh yeah, so Michael Porter Jr. MPJ going to the Nets for Cam Johnson. I think that's pretty cool. I feel like the Nuggets are still trying to retool. They don't want to pay the luxury tax either, so they're trying to figure out how to move around that. So that'll be interesting. Yeah, Michael Porter Jr. for Cam Thomas. Cam Thomas, I got to give him credit. He was bubbling up with the Suns. He was doing well. He went to the Nets, and he had obviously the playing time on a worse team to really do more and show his skills more, and not just be totally 3-and-D, but also be able to score a little bit too. So good stuff there. But again, that's kind of, the Nuggets are kind of like, it's kind of similar pieces. Um, so we'll see with that. So that was a quick NBA free agency run through. Unk says, will OKC return to the finals? They have a great chance because they're going to bring the core of their team back, but the West is tough. The West is really tough. So I don't know, but I think that they have a great chance of at least being in the Western Conference Finals and at least having a serious chance to repeat. But the West is really tough, and as Unk said, Pop said, the East is wide open. He said earlier, the East is wide open. I agree with that. It can be anybody. We saw the Pacers got through this year. The Celtics are going to be injured next year. So the Pacers. The Cavs, will they get better? Will they move forward? They had injuries during the playoffs, but they should be good to go next year. So the Pistons, they went from historically bad to a playoff team, and now they're making some moves. They're grabbing some players. So I got to go and see what that Pistons deal was. I can't remember exactly, but I know that they made some moves as well that I liked. Oh yeah, Duncan Robinson, 3-year, $48 deal with the Detroit Pistons, replacing Beasley, who is under suspicion for gambling. So they got like another sharpshooting bigger guy that can play defense too. So we'll see what happens with the Pistons as well. But that would be cool if they can compete a little bit more. So Pop says close Houston right there, and no one on OKC can stop Durant. That's true, but collectively OKC might be able to slow him down. But we'll see. The Rockets are going to be really fun to watch because the pieces that they added, plus what they were building there in their young core, plus their coach. I mean, obviously Udoka is a really great coach. He didn't leave Boston because of poor performance. So, he that's not a knock on him being in a new situation and maybe a better situation for him at this point. We'll see. But yeah, the Rockets are going to be really cool to watch. And Pop said earlier he thinks maybe Rockets OKC in the Western Conference Finals. I just want to know what the Lakers are going to do to get in there and be a part of that. But maybe nothing. But also, speaking of OKC, SGA did sign a 4-year, $285 million Supermax contract extension. And based off of the, NBA, based off of the salary cap is how much you can get when you're in that situation. He's coming off one of the best years. Obviously, he can't ask for more. All NBA, Western Conference Finals MVP, NBA Finals MVP, NBA Finals champion, MVP of the league. So he really had it all happen for him this year, and getting the super big paycheck, becoming I think that's technically be the highest average annual salary in history, because it always just keeps going up once you get the most, and being the first person to sign. So I think he's gonna make like $55 million this year, something crazy. So shout out to SGA. That's really cool for him. Yeah, so I know there's a lot more that happened in the NBA and a lot more that we will discuss, but the best thing about it being the offseason now and the lull is that we have all the time to kind of let the dust settle on free agency. It's technically not even started yet. All these trades are like pending when the league year starts. So, we'll see how it all pans out, and we'll do proper grades and reviews of like, okay, how do these teams come together once free agency slows down and is a little bit more solid this summer. But speaking of summer league starting soon, which is always fun to watch. And the number one draft pick, whoever has the number one draft pick usually starts off summer league. This year, it'll be the Dallas Mavericks versus the Los Angeles Lakers. So we'll get to see Cooper Flag debuting against the Lakers. Of course, they do this kind of stuff on purpose because of the big Luka trade, but it's not like Luka trade had anything to do with them getting the number one pick, or it's not like Luka's going to play against them. But anyways, it will be pretty cool. But yeah, says $70 million per year. Geez, why go to school? Just work on your jump shot. Yeah, for sure. And then even if you do go to school, you can get paid too. So it's crazy. Pops gives us a stat. Americans consume 20 billion hot dogs each year. I plan to have plenty on Friday. That's what's up. Yes, that's crazy. 20 billion hot dogs every year. But I would be interested to see how much of that portion, like what percentage is on holidays. If you take like 4th of July, Memorial Day, and this and that. Is that the big bump, or are we eating hot dogs all the time? Like that would be that will be interesting to see. Unk says Nathan's hot dog ambassador, Joey Superman Chestnut. Yeah, for sure. He's going to be back this year. Will he win in his return? Absolutely. Nobody can mess with this guy when it comes to the hot dog eating contest. But this does remind me of our hot dog eating contest that we had. I think it was like 2 years ago now, or maybe even 3. I should go back to that and maybe post it on the channel just for fun, as a throwback to our little Slack eating contest. And check out my YouTube coming soon. There'll be some more stuff about actually an eating contest as well. So appreciate the support over there too. With it being 4th of July, I do want to take a chance to just say, everybody, sincerely, enjoy and be safe this weekend, though. It's pretty cool that 4th of July is on a Friday. So, I expect the shenanigans to start Thursday night and then go into the weekend. Especially here, people shoot off so many fireworks. It's crazy. And we just have such a dry heat. It's kind of scary, but that's part of being patriotic, is you want to blow stuff up. So that's really cool. Pop says he wants to have a rematch on the hot dog eating contest. Yeah, I think that would be fun. I think that would be cool. We should start doing stuff like that again, just to kind of mess around. But yeah, I talked about it earlier. I wanted to touch on it. Coco Gauff, the number 2 seed at Wimbledon, out in the first round by an unseeded player. The first game was really tough, went into extra 7-6, and then she just got smoked in the second game, 6-1. That sucks. There was so much coming off of her winning the U.S. Open, and then the kind of like, oh, she didn't really win, I lost, all this kind of talk, and then she went back and supported her opponent. So a lot of stuff going on there, and she said she was a little bit mentally exhausted. Unk says, Red, remember everyone deployed. That's what's up. I've never heard that acronym before, but I appreciate you sharing it, and definitely thank you for your service, and all of those who've served. Got a lot of family in there as well. So definitely, man. I've never heard that acronym, but I like that one. Remember everyone deployed. That'll be what the red stands for this Friday when we do our 4th of July celebrations. Mom says she struggles on grass. That's definitely true. She does struggle on grass, and a lot of players in general, tennis players, do struggle on grass because when they get over there, the court's not going to carry for you. You have to have power, and it's going to slow down. And when it slows down, you got to be really technical, and you can't make unforced errors. She only had 6 winners and like 20 something unforced errors, so that's definitely rough. But expect her to at least make it to the second, third round. Even if you don't win, you got to represent. Come on. But she'll bounce back though. All right. Let's see. NFL. So the NFL, really quickly, we have the Steelers made the trade with the Dolphins for Jalen Ramsey, excuse me, and their tight end Jonnu Smith, and they traded Fitzpatrick and I think draft pick as well. But Fitzpatrick is such a good safety. Obviously, Ramsey's a good corner. Does this kind of like level them out, or is this like a big move, or is it more so too because you got a tight end as well, so you get a little bit of offensive help, a little bit of defensive help? But let me get you the exact stuff on that trade really quickly, so that I don't have to come back and correct it later. But Jalen Ramsey and tight end Jonnu Smith to the Steelers for Minkah Fitzpatrick and a pick swap. So they'll do a 7th for a 5th in 2027. So that's really mostly irrelevant. Ramsey is obviously awesome, but Minkah Fitzpatrick is like a prototypical Steelers safety. So that one's kind of an interesting one, but I think the Steelers are really trying to be like, all right, let's just see what we can do this year with Rodgers. It'll probably be his last year anyways, so let's just go in there and go all for it. We'll see. But as a result of that, we had some interesting news about Darren Waller, who was, obviously a big-time baller leading up until, like, COVID and then a little bit after that. But then took some time off after getting traded to the Giants, and he had like 2 years left on his Raiders deal, went to the Giants for 1 year, and then he was just like, I'm good, and retired. He's coming out of retirement, and he's going to play for the Dolphins. The Giants traded his rights. They still held his rights, traded him to the Dolphins, so he'll replace Jonnu Smith, and we'll see in their offense if he can be a threat because he's definitely been an offensive threat, but he hasn't played. I think it's been 2 years now since he's played football. So hopefully he'll be ready to rock. But I always did like that dude. You know, he's had his struggles, but he's a dynamic tight end for sure. Mom said I hate that Rodgers is. Yeah, it's just weird. It's just weird that he, you know, and I was hoping that towards the end of that the Steelers would just be like, never mind, dude, like we're good. But there he is. So we'll see. Pop said Ramsey had to go. Surprise Steelers let Fitz go. Good trade for both, I think. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think the Dolphins is cool because that really upgrades their defense, and that's what they, you know, they need with when they have an offensive type of coach. They need their defense to be better. Um, but yeah, Ramsey going to the Steelers is kind of interesting. We'll see. I think we can just wrap it up right there. You know, as always, when my brothers are back, we'll kind of share more of our opinions. And like I was saying, NBA will start to settle itself down, but a little bit of NBA trade news and free agency news and waves and signings and extensions and all that stuff. And then you got a couple of trades in the NFL as well. So we're marching ahead. We're marching into summer. Definitely want to tell everybody stay cool and again have a great 4th of July. And definitely be safe. And thank you to all those who served. America, as Team America said, no, I won't say that one, but just, you know, go USA. And appreciate everybody being with us today, as always, each and every week. And we will be back next time. But for my brothers, Mad Marcus, and my brother Strizzy, it's your boy A-Dub. And until next time, we out.